The greatest change that we need to make is from consumption to production, even if on a small scale in just our own gardens. I grew up in the city, surrounded by concrete and noise, and to me, macaroni and cheese was food. It wasn't until that I was in my mid-20s that I realized there was more to life than just consume, eat, work, and repeat. And I became aware of how toxic and unhealthy everyday life was. From toxic products and foods that was preserved with chemicals and the negative impact on the earth that our lives were having, ruining our fresh air, clean water, and healthy soils. And I snapped. I left it all in search of a better life, in search of personal health and well-being, a way to live sustainably, in search of connection to food and the land, in search of a life where I felt like I was a part of the solution, not the problem. I ended up in the garden, on the land, out in nature. So, will you let me show you what I found on my journey? Now let me ask you, are you an eco-minded person who's interested in home-scale agriculture, sustainable living, and maybe even environmentalism? And maybe you are wanting to grow your own food in alignment with nature and in ways that doesn't necessarily take all of your time and energy. And maybe you desire to live more sustainably, dreaming of a home, homestead or farm for a healthy, quiet, simple life. One where your land is a source for your food, source for your medicine from herbs you grew, source of your clean drinking water, wood for heat, and much, much more. Or maybe you wish to live more in alignment with your values, consuming less, reducing your carbon footprint, and helping to restore the ecosystems that provide for our needs. Now, to ensure that future generations have a planet to thrive on. Well then, my friend, go ahead, remove any distractions, silence that cell phone, close other tabs in your browser, and make this video full screen. Get yourself a bowl of popcorn. Welcome to my yurt. This is where we're going to be spending the next 5 days together in this masterclass series, Permaculture, the #1 essential tool for healthy and sustainable living. Where to start and how to apply to your life today. Now, obviously, I'm Brett James, the yurt living, bearded permaculture guy. I might look a little rugged, but don't worry, I'm a teddy bear at heart, and I'm here to hopefully change your life positively. I help eco-conscious people create truly sustainable lives so that way they can have health and happiness through activities like ecological gardening, raising animals holistically, building energy-efficient homes naturally, and living off harvested resources like wind, sun, and water. But most importantly, I help people learn how to live on this planet in a way that they will be proud of. After all, we're only borrowing it from our children, so we must always be looking forward several generations. Now, my family and I have been practicing permaculture for years, and we've taken 30 acres of raw land and developed our permaculture homestead from scratch in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. Now, this gives me a unique perspective that most will never experience. Now, I'll share more on our permaculture farm a little later on. Now, you are here because there's a problem to solve. There's a gap between where you are today and where you want to be. Now, in other words, maybe you're living in the city and wish you had a garden, or maybe you just purchased land or a home and you wish you knew how to turn it into a sustainable oasis, closing that gap and making this a reality as soon as possible. And for those of you who wish to actually turn your desires into a reality, you will have a limited opportunity to do exactly that with my help through an in-depth program called the Holistic Homestead PDC. Now, I'm really excited to have the opportunity to share these life-changing teachings with you. So, what will you get out of this series of lessons if you watch all 5? Well, these lessons will give a whole and complete and comprehensive understanding of how permaculture is the key ingredient to live a sustainable, if not regenerative life, growing your own better than organic food, harvesting resources like water and sun and wind, building homes naturally, the kind of life that actually has a positive impact on the planet. Now, this isn't just going to be a boring gardening class. Hell no. Sure, we're going to be talking about all sorts of things like creating high quality soil with little effort, or learning how to assemble what we call the ecological garden with less work and bigger harvests and way more content in the upcoming videos. But we're also going to go way beyond that because sustainable, eco-oriented living is so much more than just growing your own food. Now in this first lesson here, the power of permaculture, you're going to learn what problems permaculture solves. Now 4 big ones that you likely have. You're going to learn what it is and why it's so revolutionary and how it's the only way to truly live sustainably. And you're going to learn what is possible with permaculture, and you're going to have your mind blown. And you're going to see real permaculture homes, homesteads, and farm in action, right? People living the life today. So I promise that this lesson is packed with valuable information for you. But I have something real important to tell you. Do I have your attention? This video here is only available for 24 hours. So you need to watch it today. Otherwise, you will miss the critical information that the rest of these lessons in this series build upon. Each subsequent video lesson will be delivered to your inbox promptly at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for the next 4 days. How exciting is that? But again, you only have 24 hours to watch each video, which shouldn't be that hard as they're not more than about 30 minutes each. Now, before we get into the teachings here, because permaculture, it's such a broad topic, I want to make sure that you are in the right place. So, do you want to live a more sustainable life? Do you want to grow better than organic food? Do you want to reduce the cost of living by becoming a producer instead of a consumer? Do you want to be a healthier, happier person, connected with your food and nature? Do you want to live more in alignment with your values and be a positive influence on future generations? And do you want to be part of the solution to local and global problems? Do you want to learn how to get out of any parking ticket with a carrot and some crayons? Okay, I'm totally kidding on that last one, obviously, but I'm just making sure that you're paying attention. Now, additionally, I want to tell you if you're in the right place, if you've never heard of permaculture, or if you're familiar with permaculture, but haven't exactly achieved any results with it yet. Now, I also want you to know if you're in the wrong place as well, which I'm guessing this isn't you, but I'll just throw it out there anyways. Now, if you're not going to take steps to reinvent your life positively, and if you're not willing to get your hands dirty, do some work and learn some new skills, then you might be in the wrong place. Now, I can only guess that neither of those are you, but I have to at least throw it out there to ensure I'm not wasting your time and that you will actually get value out of the training series here. Okay, with the housekeeping aside, let's start off by talking about what problems permaculture can actually solve for you and the planet. I know the world at large and everyone here today are facing challenges, everyone. Different people turn to permaculture to solve different problems because it's such a powerful ideology with incredible tools. But over the years, I've seen that the problems that people are trying to solve tend to fall in one of the next 4 categories. I don't typically like to dwell on problems because solutions, they're infinitely more powerful. But in knowing the issues at hand, it can provide the context for the solutions that we're going to be going over in this class. So let's start with the problem of health. Let me ask you, are you struggling with currently or in the recent past chronic or acute health issues? According to the National Health Council, about 40% of the American population struggles with chronic health issues. Now, of course, this number will vary for other countries, such as Australia, Canada, or Europe. Now, it's not a secret that for many people, health issues comes from a life of fast food, sugar, toxic produce. Dr. Hu and his colleagues found an association between a high sugar diet and a greater risk of dying from heart disease. But it's not just the obvious things like sugar that are negatively impacting personal health. Take conventional butter, for instance. You can find up to 19 different pesticide residues in it. This is a major reason why so many of us are getting back to growing our own food, right? We want to take back our health because the pharmaceuticals are not helping. Now, it's funny to think that back in 1945, my grandparents' generation, 45% of their food came from backyards, but not anymore. By contrast, today, only 1% of our food comes from backyards. However, of course, this is thankfully changing with an ever-growing number of people that are realizing that health is too important to leave in the hands of corporations or governments. So, the solution to personal health issues is growing quality organic food in healthy soil at home or at least locally. And we can fix this. We can create health and abundance for our families simply by growing food in a sustainable way in our own backyards. In fact, people are now growing better than organic veggies, growing herbs for homemade medicines, and doing it in a way that's ecologically mindful. Now, as Hippocrates might have said, "Let thy food be thy medicine." Now, it's a great quote, even though we're not exactly sure if he really did say that. And of course, permaculture is a path forward to grow better than organic food anywhere in any amount of space. Now, this is big stuff, folks. Okay, let's move on to problem number 2. Living in ways that is not sustainable. And this is a huge one. You are likely aware that we only have one home that we all share, planet Earth. And on this big blue and green ball, the vast majority of people, especially in modern regions, do not live sustainably, even if they are doing all of the green things like recycling, buying eco-friendly products. Now, our biggest issues of sustainability stem from consumerism and agriculture. For example, the United States makes up less than 5% of the population on Earth, yet we easily consume over 30% of its resources. Additionally, industrial farming practices such as tilling and the use of agrochemicals, as well as deforestation to produce farmland, have dramatically increased the rate of soil erosion. All around the world, topsoil is vanishing much faster than it forms, at a loss of 1% per year. Now, why is that important? Because 95% of food requires healthy topsoil to grow. And this problem of sustainable living extends into so many other topics, from fracking, polluting groundwater, industrial carbon footprint, deforestation, garbage patches floating in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, even microplastics being found in the moat and pristine waters in the world that we're drinking. But, as you guessed, there's a solution here. The solution to unsustainable living is personal agriculture, alternative energy, natural building, holistic animal management, and more. And permaculture provides a clear path forward here to live sustainably and regeneratively on a personal and global scale. Now, this stuff's friggin' awesome, right? And third, people are wanting to live a more holistic, self-sufficient life, taking back their own power and autonomy. And people are starting to see the unstable and unfortunate nature of society today. In recent history, the Syrian war broke out in 2012 over water shortages. That, of course, led to major food shortages and has caused a civil war with over 400,000 deaths. And have you heard of what's going on in Venezuela today? They were the most stable country in South America, and currently they're on the verge of civil war and total anarchy. Their economy is collapsing. Food and water are getting to be hard to come by. The power is going off for weeks at a time. I mean, even here, if we had something happen in the United States, most grocery stores would be cleared out of food in 3 days. Not to mention how reliant we are on electricity and gas to run our daily lives. But we can create self-sufficiency and self-reliance. It's easy. It's actually the same solutions that create personal sustainability. So the solution to becoming self-reliant is personal sustainability, which, as a reminder, is personal agriculture, alternative energy, natural building, holistic animal management, and more. So we just focus on the things that are healthy for humans and healthy for the planet, and you automatically become more self-reliant. Double bonus, right? Things like growing your own food in your backyard, harvesting your own water, generating your own power are all part of a resilient home or homestead. And permaculture, of course, teaches you how. So, are you starting to see why this lesson is called The Power of Permaculture? Now, lastly, and maybe most importantly, something that is often not acknowledged is that people seem to lack happiness and connection. Is that a problem for you? Now, it might come as a surprise that I bring this up, but it's a huge pattern that I see over and over again. People are feeling like they lack happiness and connection. To what? Well, the natural world, connection to their food, connection to quality community, and even connection to themselves. People are meant to connect with the earth and its soil. That's because we've been an agrarian society, because our food and what we eat, the thing we do 3 times a day or more, comes from the soil, from nature. Now, I've come to personally believe happiness and living in integrity with one's values must include a daily dose of connection with the land. So the solution to lacking happiness is living in alignment with your personal values and nature through a permaculture-based lifestyle. I actually don't even really need to prove this to you with facts or stats, because if you close your eyes, you already know this to be true. You want to live a healthy life, but no, you are not doing what it takes to achieve that. Or you want to live a sustainable life, but are not taking the right actions to make that a reality. So we can live healthy, sustainable, self-sufficient lives that are happy and connected, the type of life where you are a person who hands over a planet to future generations that is in way better shape than it was given to you through permaculture. Now, this is big stuff, my friends. Permaculture has completely changed my life, okay? In every one of these problematic areas, and it can for you too. So, how about next we take a look at some real-life examples showing you all of these problems solved simply by getting back to the land, food, and ourselves. You see, you don't have to have tons of land to grow your own food or live more sustainably. In fact, many folks who practice permaculture do so on less than a quarter acre, and some even on a smaller scale. Take the Gervais family. They live near Pasadena, California, and each year they're able to produce 6,000 pounds of food, 2,000 eggs, 25 to 50 pounds of honey, all on 1/10 of an acre. This is basically just a suburban home with a small backyard. Now they grow 90% of their diet. Isn't that incredible? On top of that, they're able to make $20,000 a year selling the extra produce they grow locally. Now they use permaculture techniques, densely planted garden beds, well-tended, healthy soil to achieve all this. And not only do they produce this much food, they are of course reducing their carbon footprint by eliminating all those food miles that would otherwise be associated with all that produce. Next, let's look at the Plummery, an Australian suburban home retrofitted with permaculture. Now on this 3,000 square foot lot, Kat grows 1,000 pounds of food a year, including veggies, fruit, and quail for eggs and meat. She harvests sun with a grid-tied solar system and has storage for 3,500 gallons of rainwater. Now in the home, the gas heater was replaced with an efficient combustion wood stove, and firewood is sustainably harvested and salvaged. She also houses 2 woofers, or work traders, to assist with chores on the homestead. All of this in a tiny suburban house. Now you can find out more about Kat on retrosuburbia.com. And speaking of retrofitting suburban homes, I took these photos recently while walking around. Do you know what those are on the roof? Now, I'll give you a hint. They are not solar panels. What are they? They are solar hot water heaters. So you can heat water for free with the sun by simply installing panels like these on top of your home. You see, this isn't just about gardens here, right? And all of this is just the tip of the iceberg as to what is possible with transitioning to a more sustainable, holistic lifestyle. What global change is possible when you take actions on a personal scale. So, how do you go from fast food to slow food? From illness to health? From destructive to sustainable? From energy dependent to energy independent? And even from unhappy to connected and aligned? Well, the only actual system I have found to do all of that is permaculture. It's really the only complete framework to transition to a healthy and sustainable lifestyle that benefits both the people and the planet. And in it we find the science, the tools, the techniques, and even ancient knowledge all combined to solve the major issues that we're facing. Permaculture is a key ingredient that can help you design and create a truly healthy garden, home, homestead, and life. So, how is it the key ingredient? Well, let me explain. It's the only knowledge base that provides the instructions to design a healthy life for humans and the planet. So we need to differentiate something here to further illustrate that. Now I want to separate out gardening, homesteading, and farming from permaculture, okay? Because you can do any of those activities without permaculture. You can grow backyard veggies in a way that's toxic to you and your environment and your family by using petroleum fertilizers and chemical pesticides. Or a farmer can work in ways that destroys the environment by killing off necessary soil life, eroding topsoils, while polluting watersheds with excessive fertilizers, for example. None of these approaches to agriculture are permaculture. And none of these are healthy or sustainable for anyone. And that's what makes permaculture so special. It's a holistic approach to supplying the needs of the people and nature at the same time. So, did you catch that distinction? We can get the things we need, like food, medicine, water, heat, building materials, while promoting healthy environments through the use of permaculture. But how do we actually achieve that? Now, traditionally, people have designed, created, and operated homes, farms, and cities in a manner that includes blending agriculture and landscape design. And this is the modern systems we see today, the destructive monoculture farms, the unproductive suburban homes, and more. But two Australian fellows, Bill Mollison and David Holmgren, came up with the realization that this model wasn't working because it was missing one critical component, and that was ecology. Permaculture, then, is a blending of agriculture, landscape design, and ecology to create sustainable, if not regenerative, homes, farms, businesses, and cities even. Let that sink in for just a second. This is really an important concept here. All right, so next I want to show you further proof that permaculture is the pathway to transform your garden or even the world with the integration of ecology into the landscape design we do. Let's take a look at a case study. Jeff Lawton's Greening the Desert project. Now, Jeff took 10 acres of barren salted land in a hyper-arid climate and turned it into a green oasis, simply by leveraging the power of permaculture. This is the region of Jordan. Almost no rainfalls here, and summer heat can reach 122 degrees Fahrenheit, one of the most challenging places on Earth to grow food and live. Jeff and his team started terraforming the Earth to capture what little rainfall did occur and start building and restoring the soil. And in just 10 years, they created this green oasis in the middle of the desert. They harvested rainwater with swales, planted nitrogen-fixing plants to restore the soil. They planted trees to create shade and mulched the heck out of the place. They planted date palms, fig trees, pomegranate trees, guava trees, mulberry trees, citrus trees, and more. Within months, they saw the salting that was in the soil starting to recede and reverse because they were using nature-inspired design to restore the environment plus provide for the needs of the people. So here we see just what is possible just by looking to nature to design our sustainable homesteads. If they can turn barren desert into an oasis, you can certainly leverage permaculture to create sustainable lives wherever you are. Let's look at how your backyard can have a global impact, as well as improve your health, well-being at the same time. Here's the first image. What do you see here? This is the modern industrial way of producing an egg. The egg that can be bought at your mainstream supermarket. Do you see all of the energy going into this egg? Start with the egg in the bottom corner and trace your way back, right? This thing looks like a wiring diagram, doesn't it? It's utterly insane. This is representing all of the time, the money, the fossil fuels, the energy used just to deliver a carton of egg. And this is a simplified diagram. It isn't showing the things like the web of needs to create that ship, those factories, that train, and that truck. Here's a second image. What do you see here? This is a permaculture-based backyard, an old yet new way of producing an egg. The chickens forage in densely planted yard. The roof of the coop harvests rainwater. The chickens provide compost and tilling, all while you collect your eggs in a sustainable and eco-friendly way. Now let's compare the two. Drastically different, right? Now I love these two diagrams, by the way. The first is, of course, how we design our modern systems: toxic, unsustainable, harmful to the planet. And the second is a contrasting permaculture-based system for the same yield. Better than organic, no fuel miles, helpful to the planet, and truly healthy. Simply by raising your own backyard chickens. What a big impact, right? Okay, so what's the primary difference between the conventional system and the permaculture system here? Permaculture looks to nature to design our farms and gardens. You see, we live on a regenerative planet, one where nothing goes to waste in nature. Everything gets recycled, and in nature, everything has a purpose. This is the infinite intelligence of nature that we look to for inspiration in creating our sustainable lives. All right, these diagrams are nice, but it's always best to see real photos of permaculture in action. So let's take a look at and see some possibilities of permaculture in specific areas around the property or in the yard. First, let's start with the permaculture garden. Look at these lush and abundant gardens. They're full of food, soil life, beneficial insects, medicine, all working in harmony to produce a yield. The one on the left is using a keyhole technique that allows for maximum yield from small spaces, and the other image shows a polyculture-style food production. Okay, next let's take a look at sustainable home design. Now these are excellent examples of natural building at its finest. The cob materials for these homes is made of straw and sand and clay, which regulate temperature better than most any construction material, and it comes right from the building site. See how they are utilizing recycled materials like glass bottles to make amazing artwork while keeping them out of the landfills. Natural building is a win-win. Now, best of all, this photo on the right is also using passive solar design, whereby the sun warms the room through the glass only in the cooler months. And in the hotter months, the awning is perfectly angled to keep the sun off the windows, keeping the home cool then. And of course, we can't skip over water harvesting techniques that hydrate the landscape and restore the hydrological cycle. Look, this swale can capture 60,000 gallons of water an hour and distribute the water across the landscape beneficially. Water that was originally causing major erosion issues and running away without being utilized. And finally, eco-efficient ways to cook and heat without fossil fuels. Here, they're using a cob oven for baking things like breads or pizzas, with soil made from the site itself. Or here we see a rocket stove on the right, a super high efficient stove for cooking and heating that only needs sticks to produce the same amount of heat as a traditional wood stove burning logs. And these are just a few of so many cool examples. And all this is to say that the possibilities within permaculture are extensive. So, can permaculture help you? All right, by now, you should have a very clear picture on what problems permaculture can solve, what permaculture is, and how powerful it is. Next, I want to introduce you to your free permaculture workbook, which is broken into individual sections and is paired with each of these video lessons. Now, the first exercise is called Can Permaculture Help Me? And it's designed to give you an overview if it will fit into your life. But before you dive into that workbook, I want to impress the importance of actually doing the exercise. Now, the quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. Think about that for a second. The better your questions are, the more you ask questions, the better your life will be. So here you're asking the question, can permaculture help you live a better life and make the planet a better place to live on? Now, permaculture can only help you if you ask the questions and if you do this work. So with this exercise, there's one important assumption here, that you are a person who wants to live a more hand-to-mouth, sustainable life, connected with the land, growing your own food, raising your own animals, and providing for your own needs, which I'm guessing you are if you're still here. So simply go down the list of items and place a check mark in either the no, maybe, or yes columns to the right. Go ahead, do that now. When you're done, tally up the check marks in each of the 3 columns. If the majority of your check marks fall into the no or maybe columns, then permaculture can definitely provide you with tools and strategies to live a holistic way of life. And if your checks are mostly in the yes column, well then, my friend, you are already living a very sustainable, if not regenerative life. Keep up the kick-butt good work and help teach others your lifestyle. Now lastly, know that knowledge is power. And this exercise gives you the knowledge to go forward from, to make big life changes and improvements from. All right, this little exercise here wraps up this lesson introducing you to permaculture. You should now have an idea how permaculture is a solution to global and local problems. And you should see how incredibly versatile it is, helping people from the garden to the home and beyond into wild and native lands. And if you think these solutions are powerful, that things that you want in your life, post it up in the comments below the video and let me know. Now, what we have talked about here today is only the tip of the iceberg, and I'm really excited to share much, much more with you over the next 4 days. But I have a question for you first. Where do you start with permaculture? Is there a right place, a right strategy? Should it be in your garden, or should you start somewhere else? And will permaculture work in your climate? Well, I'll be answering these questions and many, many more in tomorrow's video. And for a final thought here, I want you to meditate on this. Most people underestimate what they can achieve in a day, but underestimate what they can achieve in a year. You see, creating change in life and in the world is easy because it has nothing to do with tackling major needs or big problems. It's more about the small steps that we take each and every day. And I hope that you can see that even taking 30 minutes to watch this lesson is one of those small steps that can add up to a complete shift in life trajectory in a short amount of time. All right, friends, look for an email from me in your inbox tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll have your link to watch video number 2 there. And if you do not receive the email, be sure to check your spam and your promotions folder. Chances are, if your email's missing, it's there. All right, then, let's call this a wrap, and I will see you tomorrow in your inbox at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.